Hi everyone and welcome to RaceCloud. I'm with you and you're with our kart and driving tips blog aimed to help you become a champion. So this is our first video in which I will introduce to you the first steps in karting and show you what you have to do before you enter the track for the first time.
The first thing to start with is choosing the right seat size, which will assure you a tight fit and confident body support. The seat size is measured in its tight section. If you don't know your correct seat size, it will be easier for you just to try it and see if it gives you the correct fit. After you have chosen the right seat, you need to mount it properly. For this, refer to your chassis manufacturer's directions on how and where to mount it. Have in mind only that the seat bottom should be flat. Before you enter the track, you must assure that everything on the kart is tightened properly, starting from the seat. Make sure that the seat is correctly fixed and there aren't any loose bolts. The steering components should be securely tightened and should not have unwanted looseness. Check the kingpin, all joints, connection rods on both ends, and steering cone, as well as all bolts on the steering wheel and the limiters on the cone. Check if all four wheel hubs are tightened and of course don't forget the wheels as well. Rear axle should be securely fixed and rotating freely. The 9 axial restraints, 3 on each bearing, must be tightened, as well as the bearing bolts, 4 on each. When you have checked all bolts and fixings on the kart, you must take a look at the condition of your chain. First, remove the chain guard. Check the chain tension and movement. It should be about 15 to 20 millimeters. As you can see, in our case the chain have to be a little bit more tightened. The chain tension is adjusted by moving the engine backwards and forwards. You can determine the longitudinal position of the engine using this bolt. After you have checked and made the correct tension of the chain, you shouldn't forget to lubricate it. Another very important thing is to see if all of the wiring and the fuel linings are in place and secured, so that there are no leaks, cracks and damages. The movement of the pedals is crucial and have to be carefully defined with the limiter bolts. The gas pedal should be adjusted so that when it is released, the throttle cable must be loose with a little play. After it is fully pressed, the throttle cable should be completely tight with no extra movement in it. The brake pedal should also have a little bit of play when it is fully released and should guarantee enough brake pressure. All the brake linings must be above the chassis in order not to touch the ground and thus prevent damages. If there is not enough pressure and the brakes does not generate the required brake force, you should check if there is required quantity of brake fluid and there is no air in the brake system. You can check and extract any air from the linings through these openings. You can find those plugs on every brake caliper. If you have to put more fluid in the system, you can do this after removing the tops of the brake pumps. When you're sure that the whole brake system is properly functioning, you have to check your brake pads and discs. There should be sufficient brake pad material and no excessive worn in the brake rotors. Make sure that your battery is securely fixed and properly charged via the positive and negative clamps. If you're using the RaceCloud Live Telemetry solution, it is not needed to measure the battery every time you're in the pits, but you can constantly monitor the battery's voltage and plan charging only when necessary. Check if the coolant water level is at maximum, filling the radiator completely and there are no leaks in the cooling system. Use only water, since coolant is prohibited. Before filling up the tank with fuel, make sure that it has the right fuel and oil mixture defined by the engine's manufacturer and close the cap tight afterwards. Check all the fuel linings to be firmly tightened in place. You should monitor your tire's pressure before and after every session on the track, since the correct pressure and temperature are crucial for the best performance. RaceCloud is here to help you with this as well. In the race setup, you can enter the used tire pressure for every session and thus see how different pressures result in your lap times. And last but not least, if you're using a brand new engine, don't forget to refer to manufacturer's instructions for the proper warming up and running procedure of the engine. Now you're ready to hit the track and start growing as a racing driver. Stay tuned for our next video with the basic driving tips. Check our website racecloud.net and follow us on YouTube for more tips and tricks with RaceCloud.